So we'll go from 4 to 1. At number 4, this feels pretty darn obvious in the AFC East. Put up the graphic, is the New England Patriots. The Patriots I've got as a 4-win team. Again, could Drake May elevate them into a 5-win team? I do think we're going to see Drake May this season. Maybe. Do I like some of the pieces with the New England Patriots defensively? I do. I like Christian Gonzalez. I hated that he got hurt early last season. He might have been, if memory serves me correct, might have been my pick to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. I think the kid is really, really special. Loved him in college. But Bill Belichick gone, Jerome Mayo in. Jerome Mayo's a Tennessee guy, go Vols. But this Patriot offense is, I think, far and away the least talented in the league. Again, we'll see what Drake May is. I've always said, since the draft, Drake May is going to be the classic, just like crazy high ceiling and really low floor. Drake May is going to be awesome or he is going to be terrible. I have a hard time seeing him becoming like an average, like a Tua Tagovailoa style quarterback in the National Football League. Patriots got a long way to go. They got a couple more drafts just to put themselves in a position where we can even think about them in the playoff context. So the Patriots, obviously the clear number 4 in the AFC East. Go to number 3. This is going to shock some people, but I think it's fairly obvious. The New York Jets. The Jets are going to repeat their season last year and go 7-10. And yes, I am aware Aaron Rodgers is back. Here's the fact of the matter with the New York Jets. You're talking about an offensive coordinator, Nathaniel Hackett, who has a career record going back to it when he was an offensive coordinator, which he is now at the Jets, and his brief stint with the Denver Broncos in 2022 before he was fired, before the last game was played, as a bad head coach, as a bad offensive coordinator, uncreative, doesn't relate to players terribly well, just does not work whatsoever. Hackett is an objectively awful offensive coordinator. Robert Saleh. I've heard folks defend him. Well, Saleh's never had great quarterback play. Mike Tomlin had great quarterback play last year. Steelers got to the playoffs. Did Kevin Stefanski have great quarterback play last year? Browns had some people thinking they could go to the Super Bowl out of the AFC. So I think Saleh, and I'll give him this, that just to be a competent coach, a head coach in the NFL, your side of the ball has to be good. So Saleh is a defensive coach. I got nothing bad to say about the Jets defense. Their front 4 is really good. Obviously, Quinnen Williams anchoring, kind of the interior. We'll see if Hassan Reddick maybe comes back. I think he's in a situation where he may have to. Otherwise, he gets dealt at the trade deadline. Sauce Gardner's an offensive quarter. You look at their linebacking core is really strong. They've got an excellent defense. Sorry, I still don't buy in the offense. Aaron Rodgers has not been good. I'm not kidding, since I was in high school. Aaron Rodgers' last playoff appearance, to his credit, MVP, as well as his last 300-yard passing game, happened in 2021. Folks, we're 3 years later. In that time, he led the Packers, who Jordan Love took the playoffs the year after, to an 8-9 record. The next year, he ended up going to the Jets. There was a lot of optimism, and then tragically, 4 plays into the season, boom, he blows his Achilles, and the season goes up in smoke for the Jets. And this offseason, they did improve their offensive line. Credit to them. I like some of the moves they made, particularly Tyron Smith, nabbing him from the Cowboys. And Garrett Wilson is a special wide receiver. Mike Williams can't stay healthy, and the rest of the receiving core is really, really thin. Breece Hall, I have injury concerns with that as well. So just given the fact how stacked the AFC is, how I think there's a lot of games on the Jets schedule where, in theory, they're better on paper, but they don't match up terribly well. They're going to lose a lot of these games. I said back in January that because of the return of Rodgers, there'd be more optimism, and for that reason, it would be a more disappointing season for the Jets. I think it's 7-10. I think Rodgers potentially retires after this year. Saleh's gone, Hackett's gone, and it's a total rebuild from the top on down for the New York Jets. Joe Douglas is gone as well. So the Jets, I do not see, forget a Super Bowl contender. I think that's absurd. I don't see them as a playoff contender. So the Jets repeat last year and go 7-10. Let's go to number 2 in the AFC East. I've got the Miami Dolphins going 9-8. And by the way, for the playoff teams in here, you'll see like a little green statement in parentheses that says playoffs. So there's not one right there for the Dolphins. I think Miami misses the playoffs this year after getting there the last couple of seasons. And here's why. So Vic Fangio was their defensive coordinator. I thought he was slightly overrated in his time in Miami, but that you have a new defensive coordinator, so there's a lack of continuity there. And the fact that the Dolphins do not have a good defense. They lost their anchor of their interior defensive line, Christian Wilkins, in free agency. Defensively, Jalen Ramsey is getting up there in age. I just don't like what they have on the defensive side of the ball, especially when you got to play Josh Allen twice a year. You also consider offensively. Well, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Raheem Mostert. Jalen Wright at the University of Tennessee, go Vols, drafted by Miami. Perfect fit there. But Tua Tagovailoa, like him, God bless him for getting paid. But we're in a situation with the Miami Dolphins where Tua Tagovailoa is a bad quarterback in sub-47 degree temperatures. The numbers are 49. I think it was like 49 degrees, sub 50 degree temperatures. The guy has a passer rating in the toilet. Record's bad. He does not win games in chilly weather. That's going to handicap the Dolphins. It's really going to put them, I think, middle to back half of their schedule is brutal, especially in terms of cold weather games. So I'm going to go with the Miami Dolphins to miss the playoffs. And that obviously leaves number one in the AFC East. I think the Bills win the division with an 11-6 record, just like they did a year ago. So last year on this very show, I thought Buffalo was going to miss the playoffs. I thought the vibes were terrible coming into the season. I didn't love their offensive line coming in. There was the Stephon Diggs stuff. I thought the AFC was too stacked. I actually picked the Jets to make the playoffs last year. I thought the Bills were in a spot where it could get really ugly really quickly, and they missed the playoffs. This year, I kind of feel a little bit different because the Bills' offensive line we saw at the end of last season played really, really well, and they did lose Mitch Morse, I believe, this offseason, but I still like the pieces they have in that O-line. Pro Football Focus still has it as an above-average line. The receiving core isn't anything to write home about, but when you consider the fact that Stephon Diggs in that Bills winning streak for them to sneak into the playoffs and win the AFC East last year, is that Stephon Diggs did not put up good numbers at all. So you replace him, trading him to the Texans, obviously, with Keon Coleman, really, really talented rookie wide receiver, I believe out of Texas, can really make some things happen. We haven't seen him play yet, but I like what I see. You still have Khalil Shakir, who I really like as kind of a run-after-catch guy. You've got James Cook in the backfield, who you had a lot of success with a year ago under Joe Brady. Remember Joe Brady, LSU, Joe Burrow. Joe Brady now comes to the Bills mid-season as the interim guy. The offense, I don't want to say like turns on a dime, but it certainly became a more efficient offense. Josh Allen is still an excellent quarterback, bar none top 5 in the NFL. He's got the best running game of his career. He's got the best offensive line of his career. By the way, the tight ends in Buffalo, Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox, maybe the best tight end duo in the sport. So listen, I think this idea that Allen doesn't have any weapons, listen, it's not a stat core at all, but I like the piece they got in Buffalo offensively. And listen, for my criticisms of Sean McDermott, I've called him the Mark Jackson of the NFL. Like where Mark Jackson, it was great for my Warriors at setting a culture, right? The Warriors do not become a dynasty without the guidance of Mark Jackson early on, but he just couldn't take them to the next level. I feel the same way about Sean McDermott, but he specializes on his side of the ball. The Bills defense, I think, will still be good. The Bills offense will be better than folks think. They'll win this division with an 11-6 record. So that's why I got with the AFC East. If we can go and put up that one more time. So number one, I got the Bills going 11-6, obviously making the playoffs, winning the division. Dolphins go, the rest of these teams miss the playoffs. Dolphins go 9-8. Jets disappoint everybody and go 7-10. And the Patriots are obviously one of the worst teams in the league, probably the worst roster in the league, no question, with a 4-13 record. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.